Okay, let's begin. Hello, I'm Vinay Mistry, part of the developer relations team here at Symphony. I'm joined by my colleague Kaosar Ahmed.
Hello everyone, thanks for having me, and thank you to everyone coming to this webinar.
So welcome everyone to another edition of the Build a Bot series. These are informative sessions on developing bots on Symphony. Our previous topics have included insights into Symphony's bot and workflow developer kits, security considerations, and production resilience.
Before we cover today's content, we wanted to make sure everyone here is well aware of the Symphony Developer Center, which was launched last year. This is a one-stop shop for all developer resources, from getting started to certifications. And it also includes recordings to previous sessions of the Build a Bot webinar series. So do check it out if you've missed any sessions.
So a few notes about today. Our goal is for this conversation to be about 30 minutes. We'll first cover an introduction of the embedded collaboration platform and how it can help developers. Then we'll cover the different ECP modes and rendering options that are available. Then we'll cover how to leverage the ECP SDK and the various functions that are available. Next, we'll cover configuration and theming of ECP windows. Lastly, we'll run through how to enable notifications within ECP as well. We then have a demo of ECP using our examples, and finally, we'll open the floor for questions.
So please take advantage of the Q&A chat box, which you'll see at the bottom of your screen. You can submit questions as we go along today's session, and we'll get back to them at the end of this session. So let's get started. Vinay, can you tell us more about Embedded Collaboration Platform?
Sure, so let's jump in and cover what the embedded collaboration platform actually is. The Embedded Collaboration Platform, also known as ECP, enables developers to integrate Symphony inside other applications. This enables end users to collaborate without leaving their application platform, removing the need to context switch and improving workflow efficiency. ECP also provides a seamless login experience. Using OpenID Connect, users can SSO straight into ECP. So Kaosar, can you tell us more about the ECP SDK?
Sure. Let's take a look at the different modes to display ECP chat conversations. The default mode we have is Focus Mode. This enables you to render one or more chat modules with each showing a single chat. You can include curated messages by using the rich text editor to include attachments and emojis. The next mode we have is Collaboration Mode. This mode renders a simplified version of the Symphony UI, including the left navigation pane, allowing users to create rooms, search messages, access signals, and room lists. Vinay, can you tell us more about the ECP rendering options and what they enable?
Of course, so let's take a look at the different ECP rendering options. So the recommended approach is to use explicit rendering. This gives developers fine-grained control over ECP. The SDK will then expose an API to embedding applications to use. You can access the various functions of the SDK using the windows.symphony object. We then have automatic rendering. This is where the SDK will create an iframe for you. Developers just need to add the ECP script tag and create a div with the Symphony ECM class so that the script can find it and add the iframe within it. This method is retained for backwards compatibility of our previous version of embedded chat. And lastly, we have direct iframe rendering. This uses basic configuration parameters, but it does not allow for any of the advanced features offered through the SDK. So this should only really be used where using the SDK is not possible. So Kaosar, can you tell us how to load the ECP SDK?
Sure. So you can launch the ECP SDK within your pod instance by referencing the SDK script directly. Here, we have an example where we have included a script tag to reference the SDK. We then need to define the container where our chats will be loaded. So in this div tag, we have included a class for ECP-chat. The render function then creates and adds the ECP iframe within our ECP-chat container with the corresponding conversations. So Vinay, can you tell us more about the ECP SDK functions that are available?
Sure. So the main functions you would use are, firstly, the render function. As we noted before, This is the function that creates and adds the ECP iframe to the container, with the class given as its first parameter. You can also add a container selector to pick which container will display the conversation. Alternatively, update your chat if the container already had a chat. Then we have the open stream function. This enables us to open conversations with a given stream ID. Next, we have the start room function. This lets you start a direct message or group conversation with specific users. Similar to OpenStream, you can pass a container selector parameter to open the chat in a specific container. If the direct message or group chat with the user or users already exists, it will open it. If it does not exist, a new conversation will be created and then opened. And lastly, we have update settings function. This enables developers to update the ECP configuration parameters. So Kaosar, can you tell us more about the configuration and theming that the ECP SDK allows?
Sure. So ECP configuration enables developers to control what options are available to users within the ECP chats. So the common app parameters are for defining your stream ID for opening conversations and user IDs for creating new conversations. Then we have the configurable app settings. Here you can define granular controls for the ECP experience. For example, whether users can use emojis or send attachments, define whether users can search chats, bookmark messages, and show room titles in the header. You can also set which color palette will be used, either the dark theme or the light theme. It's important to note that these settings will not override the configuration of the pod environment. For example, if your pod environment does not allow attachments, then the setting show attach set to true will not do anything. So ECP provides two standard color themes, either the light or dark theme. Customization is also possible to create your own theme to align your ECP chat experience with your own parent page content. You can pass a custom theme within the ECP configuration to define your own themes. So Vinay, the last capability for the ECP SDK is notifications. Can you tell us more about them?
Sure, so you can listen for notifications using the listen method. By using a subscription payload object as a parameter, you can define the notifications you want to view. So you can subscribe for unread count notifications using a stream ID. You are then returned a notification object containing the stream ID and count of unread messages. You can also subscribe to message notifications. This would alert the end user on new messages within a chat, but also provide richer content, including any app mentions, room names, and the content of the message. So let's jump into a demo of ECP. So in today's demo, we'll be using an ECP example called Clever Deal. This example demonstrates ECP integrated into a React application. By launching the chat conversations, we are navigating to some preset stream IDs. Then we'll try to create our own web page that allows us to launch a conversation with a user based on their email address. And lastly, we'll add notifications so we can get alerted when new messages are posted in our chat conversations. Okay, so in today's demo, I'm going to be referencing this GitHub repository where we have some examples. The first one I'll be covering is Clever Deal. This is a React example of how you can embed ECP within your application. So that's something that we'll jump into first. And then the next one we'll look at are the simple examples. This is where you construct a HTML file in order to render the ECP. So with that said, let's jump into the Clever Deal example. So here we have the app example in our IDE. And if I navigate to the index file, the first thing that I've done, I've updated the default origin. So this will tell the application to reference my particular pod in order to load the ECP SDK. Once that's loaded, we're then going to the deals room. And here what I've done is I've hard-coded some values for users that should be added to a room, but also the actual rooms themselves. So I've got the room name and also the actual IDs for the rooms that should be launched and the members that should be within there. So let me Start this up. And we can take a look at that. Okay, so here's our React example here. So if I click into one of these active rows, what I see is some quick information about the room, history, and then I've got the chat room as well. And here I can scroll through chat messages, compose a larger message, drop code as well if I choose to, and also have the option of kind of attaching files or emojis. So I'll just do a quick hello. And then I've got some more rooms here. So if I click into this room here, we can see that I can switch between rooms quite easily. So that's a really great example of how you can embed ECP within a React example. So let's try making an example ourselves in HTML. So if I stop this application, and then I'll navigate back to our folder structure. This time I'll go into the simple examples. And I've got a blank HTML file here. So this is what we'll start building out our HTML in order to render our ECP window. Okay, so we have our standard HTML tags, and we'll give the page a title as well. We'll call it the ECP webinar demo. And then what we'll do is we'll give a size for our ECP chat containers as well. So we have a recommended size that we should use. Next, what we'll do is we'll define our actual ECP container. And then once our ECP SDK is loaded, we'll then reference our render function in order to render a Symphony chat. We can use one of our previous chat rooms that we saw. And then we can add some more information regarding the theming. So we'll have dark mode here. And then here, we'll be filling out the script in order to load our ECP SDK with the explicit rendering. An extra quote. So we'll save this now. Let's jump into my other terminal. So within the directory, I'll just type npm serve. So now if I refresh my browser, I should see my new web page. So let's try loading this. So there we go. So we've loaded a single ECP window here of our previous chat. We've got the hard-coded stream ID, which is now being loaded. And again, I've got the same kind of functionality where I have rich text editor, and I can also kind of add emojis or attach files. So hello from our HTML page. So this is great. So let's have a look at some of the other functions where we can launch a stream, an ECP conversation using a stream ID or a user ID. So if we go back to our HTML, what we'll do is we'll add some additional containers for our new chats. So the first container that we'll add is when we open a room based on a stream ID. And it will have a second container as well for when we open chats based on a user's ID. For an extra comment. Okay, so now we've got our new containers. Firstly, we're going to need to capture the stream ID and the user ID. So let's create some forms to capture that information. So here we're creating a text entry box for the firstly for the stream ID to create a form. And we'll do the same again, but this time to capture the user's ID as well. Okay, so once we have these values, we can then start to use our various functions within the ECP SDK. So the first one's the ability to open a chat based on a stream ID. So here we're going to be using the function called open room. We'll be passing the value for the stream ID that was entered in the form. And we're also specifying which chat container should be opened as well. And again, we'll do the same for user ID. So this time we use a function called start room, and we'll take the value for user ID. But this time we'll use the second chat container that we created. Okay. Right, so if I save this, let's try reloading our page now. Okay, so we still have our hard-coded ECP window that opens here, but now we have a new field for a stream ID and a user ID. So let me see if I can capture a stream ID from one of our previous conversations. So here we now see our previous room opened using a stream ID within a new ECP window. And then I can also enter a user ID. So I'll open up a conversation with Kaosar. And this opens my third window. Okay, so the next thing we'll look at is how we can enable notifications now within ECP. So if we go back to our HTML, let's add the message listener object as well. Okay, so if we go back to our open room, we can add our listener here as well. So we're going to be adding our notification listener for new messages in this particular room. So we use the listen function for message notifications. And the stream ID would be for this particular room. And then quite simply, I'll be generating an alert with the stream that generated the message. The sender from who it was and the actual message itself. Okay, so let's save this. I need to reload my page. So if I reload this, I'll open up my rooms again. So let me drop in the stream ID for my room and also my chat with Kaosar. So now I've got a bot in this room. So if I type /start, what I expect is to receive an alert when I see a message come through. So here we see an alert that's been generated. It tells me the stream, so the room name it's appeared from, the sender who sent it, so my bot sent the message, and the actual message itself. So that concludes the demo for ECP today. Hope you've enjoyed it. So let's go back to our slides.
Thank you, Vinay, for those great demos showing the capabilities of the embedded collaboration platform. So ECP is currently in beta at the moment and will be available to select partners for testing. The planned general release is before the end of this year. This would include improved integration capabilities, allowing you to create chats and send messages. It should be noted that ECP is a commercial offering, so for production use, appropriate licensing will be required. Please reach out to sales@symphony.com to review your use case to discuss this in further.
So let's jump into the Q&A to answer the questions the audience has posted into the chat box. So firstly, when will ECP be available on my pod? So I think we just touched upon this in our previous slide. The GA release is scheduled for the end of 2022, but please speak to your Symphony account team to confirm this.
We have a question. Will there be any documentation or training material available for ECP? So yes, we will have documentation available for embedded collaboration platform available on the Symphony developer documentation site. You can simply navigate to docs.developers.symphony.com and search for ECP to find out more information. In relation to the training material for ECP, the Symphony Developers Relation Team is currently building out the embedded collaboration platform development course, which will be freely available for anyone on the Symphony Developer Center, which could be found at developers.symphony.com. We would encourage you to sign up on the Symphony Developer Center and check out the Training Center section so you don't miss out when the ECP development course is made available.
Thanks, Kaosar. So our next question, can you share the GitHub repository of examples? So we saw earlier in the demo, we were referencing a GitHub repository for these examples. So they are located on the Symphony Platform Solutions GitHub repository. And we've created a bit.ly link for easy access. So it's https bit.ly/Symphony ECP.
Thanks, Vinay. So we have another question. We currently use single sign-on in my company. How can ECP allow us to have our users to use embedded collaboration platform without end users constantly logging in and logging out all the time? So the embedded collaboration platform can certainly work with single sign-on, but the developers will need to ensure they have the OpenID Connect protocol, which is an identity layer built on top of the OAuth 2 framework implemented within the ECP.
Thanks, Kaosar. So yeah, we've covered all the questions for today. So we wanted to thank you all for your time today. We hope you enjoyed today's content. You can catch up on this webinar again or view our previous webinars at developers.symphony.com. We have also included a link to access the ECP examples you saw today. And if you have any questions regarding this or past sessions, please do reach out to us at developer.relations@symphony.com. So we look forward to seeing you at our next session.